Thing one tonight, out of the awfulness of the past few days came a moment of weird hog-related levity on the internet. If you've been anywhere near social media, you might have noticed that the top trending topic everywhere seemed to be feral hogs. A bizarre turn of events which began with a tweet from a guy named Willie in Arkansas, who added his 2 cents to the roiling debate over banning assault weapons. Quote, legit question for rural Americans. How do I kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard within 3 to 5 minutes while my small kids play? This one question seemed to derail the entire debate, which was not necessarily a bad thing, because instead of everyone angrily fighting about guns, it seemed everyone was now confused and obsessed with the 30 to feral hogs. The tweet went viral and the memes began. Here's President Trump yelling at the kid mowing his lawn, "Have you seen my hogs?" 30 to 50 of them. And there was this Jurassic Park inspired one, "Easy, easy." This was a throwback about how my kids bring all the feral hogs to the yard. There's always an Oprah version, of course. These here are Pharrell hogs. Apparently they won't stop singing Happy. It wasn't long before someone developed a feral hogs violent video game as well, where you too can defend your small children from the 30 to 50 feral hogs. Now, you'd be forgiven for assuming that surely the whole feral hogs thing was a big joke. Clearly the original question was in jest, and you would be dead wrong, because people all across this country really are dealing with huge packs of hogs in their yards, and they're trying all sorts of ways to deal with them. And that's thing 2 in 60 seconds. So the reaction to the tweet in the middle of the gun debate about what to do about feral hogs might have been hilarious, but the question was not at all a joke. Willie McNabb says it's happened several times with no warning, it being 30 to 50 feral hogs running into his yard within 3 to 5 minutes while his small kids play. And Willie is not alone. There are over 6 million feral hogs scattered across at least 35 states, according to the Department of Agriculture. And the population is rapidly expanding. At the cost of $1.5 billion a year in damage, the hogs have been known to tear up crop fields searching for food. And while attacks on humans are rare, officials say the hogs' sharp tusks and speediness can cause serious injury. So people have come up with some creative solutions to deal with the problem. In Texas, lawmakers actually passed a pork chopper law. Seriously, allowing hunters to pay to shoot feral hogs from helicopters. That turned out to be expensive and not at all that effective, because the hogs are pretty smart. They quickly learn to hide from the loud noise of the choppers. People have tried hunting from air balloons, silent, but issues like steering and visibility made that pretty impractical. Texas also tried using pesticides, but abandoned that plan after 200 birds were found dead. Now, if you're wondering how in the world we got to this point, we can thank, among other factors, yes, climate change, a huge contributor to the situation, because increased temperatures mean more of the animals are surviving through the milder winters and then continuing to multiply year after year. So we now all add battling giant packs of hogs for control of the planet to our nightmare visions of the climate change future.
Wild hogs are one of the smartest animals on the planet. That's why it's so important that we don't educate these hogs when we remove them. Feral hogs carry a number of diseases, including tuberculosis, trichinosis, pseudorabies, E. coli, brucellosis, and a few other diseases. That's why it's very important to hire a team of professionals to remove these feral hogs from your property.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.